My name's Bill. I'm an alcoholic. How you guys doing? You have the misfortune after you're around for a while, you chair meetings, and then you happen to have a good evening, and then secretaries, you always see a lot of secretaries at meetings, and then they'll snag you and ask you to do a meeting, and so you'll hear me for about the next 2 months, and then you'll get sick and tired of me along with the secretaries, and then I'll shut up and go away and everybody go about their business. But it's great. I had a great Thanksgiving. When I started out, it wasn't like that. I hope some of you have had a nice Thanksgiving, and if you haven't, hang around. I didn't get to a meeting prior to, but what's real important sometimes too is people who are doing better than others, and you see them, take them home with you. Feed them at home. You don't have to have an alcathon. I mean, the alcathons are great too, but take them home and let them share your family with you and stuff like that. It's real important. I guess I was sober 10, 11 years, and then for 4 years I wasn't, hooked up with anybody, and had some friends invite me over 4 straight years in a row, and it was great. Saved my ass. Because there was something that was read in the how it worked was pretty cool, where people who suffer, that word suffer. And hell, I've been sober since 77, and I still suffer sometimes, man. I still have some days that are really the shits, not the pits, the shits. And sometimes I don't like to get out of bed, but today it is super good. I had my kids down. My oldest daughter's going to Humboldt State. She just got married to a kid from Holland, and me and the rest of the family have cleared him, and he's okay. I think we're going to keep him, that kind of thing. And I got 2 16-year-olds at home, a boy and a girl, and my wife. I always like to say I married my wife. Most of the guys are looking for mom, and most of the gals are looking for dad. And I say I married my mom. I don't want to make anybody nervous that she tells me what to do and where to go and how much money to spend and how to dress and all that stuff. And I love it. But I woke up March 21st, 1977, in a trash can in Petaluma. And I was a barroom drinker. I was a construction guy all my life. Started working when I was 16 years old. Started in San Francisco. And so I'm 58 years old, and in that day, in your 20s, you cash your check at the bar. You never had, I always like to talk to Lawrence about that, my buddy. You never had a bank. You always went to the bar to cash your check. If you had any legal problems, the bartender handled them. If you ever wanted to make a bet, the bartender will handle them. If you had any medical problems, the bartender, he handled them, that kind of thing. So, but anyhow, it was good in the city for a while. But anyhow, I moved from San Francisco to Petaluma in '76, and my drinking got heavier, and I woke up one night after a Friday night, cashing my check and having some drinks in a trash can, and I nearly killed a lady in a car and ran. I was one of those that ran a lot, so always on the move a lot, and I remember I came to in the trash can, and it was terrible. It was absolutely horrifying. I always like to say I'd raise up, I'd lift this lid up, and I'd look around, and then I'd drop the lid back down and go back down to the ground. Shit, and garbage and cry, and most of us, I believe, that are even here tonight, even the tough guys, there's a time in your life when you cross that line, when you ask yourself, what in the hell is wrong with me? How did I get here? I'm not a bad person. What the shit's going on, And you ask those questions, and with me, like they talk about it in the book, the last couple of years of your drinking is always the worst, Nobody comes in here feeling great. Money, wife endorses you, dog loves you, the boss is over there with a banner, yay for you, in the back or something like that. It's always terrible. It's always a rotten, And so what happens here, if you're here tonight and you're new, this can be pretty intimidating, pretty scary. Now we have a visitor, and if I was a visitor and not an alcoholic, I'd be goddamn nervous to have this many drunks in a room, and I'd be the only one that playing it pretty straight. But in 26 years, I've never seen anything break out, in a meeting, so you don't have to worry about that. So if you're new like me, quite possibly, despite what sometimes you hear, is we are in the worst shape that we've ever been in our lives. You walk through that door and you're beaten, which is a good place to be. It's a good state. I always like to say, if I could touch everybody and tap them on the shoulder and give you a few things tonight, especially the new people or the people who have been around for new to a couple of years, is I would give you an abundance of desperation. Because the more desperate you are, the more willing you're going to sit in one of these hard goddamn chairs under these bright lights listening to this bullshit. Because for a long time, that's what it sounds like, bullshit. I wake up in a trash can. I wreck my cars, I pulled a heist and I got caught. The alley was too small for the car, and on and on, those kind of things. And then all of a sudden, and that's another trait that we have. We are people who make decisions like this, with no thought behind it, or very little, and consequences behind it, and especially if you're a drunk and you're like me in the last few years of your drinking, it's just absolutely terrible. So here I was in a meeting in Petaluma, much smaller than this, but the same bunch of characters, feeling I had nothing in common with them. Wish to shit they would shut up and leave me alone. Okay, I'll drink coffee. Just leave me alone. Okay, I'll raise my hand if it'll keep you people from looking at me. I was one of those guys, I didn't raise my hand for a long time in a meeting, but I got tired of people looking. They were like making bets, tonight he's going to raise his hand, kind of thing. But I felt I had nothing in common. And that's one of the things I can help you tonight with. Because I believe my job, people with any length of sobriety, your job is to help people take shortcuts. Not if I had to crawl from here to that double door to stay sober and was absolutely no use to it, I don't intend you to do that. I can tell you tonight, see them doors? You don't have to crawl to them son of a bitches. Go down the aisle here, you know what I'm saying? And I believe people who are sober, it's their job to do that. So if you want some shortcuts, I'll tell you, if I can remember them, but the deal is, the bad news is, you got to stay here and listen to this crap for a while. And the good news is, if you got nowhere to go, it's not going to be that tough. It's not going to be that tough. Court papers, when I came in, they had just started, and there was a big controversy about the court papers and sign it, and we're busting down the integrity of AA, and Jesus Christ, it's going to crumble and it's going to fall and shit. It's not. We just keep coming. I was thinking about that coming over here, picking Lawrence up. I've probably helped 6 people in my life on a day-to-day, one-to-one, I'm going to kick your ass if you start drinking basis, and been sober a long time and been productive, because this thing is not about going to meetings for 20 years, sitting in hard chairs, listening to this stuff, getting acid burn from drinking coffee, eating cookies, and not having any fun in life. AA is designed to help you reestablish a life. Quite possibly not your own, but reestablish a life. And I had to hang around for about 14 months to finally begin to feel that. And how I got it was people around me who stayed, they started looking good. And a lot of them started looking better than me. they started getting cars, they started getting money, they started growing hair, they started doing all kinds of stuff. And you say, Jesus Christ, this works. And it does. It helps you if you believe in something. A lot of times you're going to hear the word God. I don't know if we got any kids around here, but I'm going to probably just say this once, and I'll try to be good the rest of the night. If you let words like God or fuck bother you in this program, you're going to have a terrible time. You really are. You really are. It's going to be rough. It's going to be rough. So, anyhow, if you stay here long enough, you'll realize that you don't have to do nothing. You don't have to do the steps. You don't have to eat the cookies. You don't have to buy the literature. You don't have to do a goddamn thing. You stay around here long enough and you'll want to do it all. And when you get to that point, then you can't get enough. Shit, it's like a love, like a fix. It's like a drink. Baby, you just want to keep it coming. Because I sobered up and came to and lived at the Petaluma Hotel for, 8 months, I guess. My first 8 months of my sobriety. And I didn't have much. And I was afraid that all I was going to have is a couple of pair of underwear, a couple of pair of socks, a couple of shirts, a 15-year-old car for the next 25 years of my sober life. I figured that's the way it's going to be. And it's absolutely not. These steps have been around this planet for eons. They're written in caves and on scrolls and under rocks and everything else. The only deal, we are so fortunate, and that's a word you're probably going to have to accept here in these rooms because you're going to hear it a lot. We are so fortunate that somebody, and I believe it to be God as I understand him, numbered these things for us. Because anybody in this room knows and probably can count from 1 to 12. And if you can count from 1 to 12, you can have a wife or a husband, a dog or a parakeet or a lizard or a snake. You can go to Costa Rica on a vacation. You can get married. You can raise kids. You can buy cars. You can have mortgages. You can get new hearing aids. You can get new hair, new hearts. Anything that you want within reason and within a period of time you can have. I believe it's designed that way because I've been around 26 years. And the rooms keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I see more people getting sober. And if it didn't work, if I said if it was just cookies and coffee and this bullshit, there'd only be 2 people here tonight. The guy who set up tonight, he'd have had to been here at 4:30 this afternoon, to set up here, because there'd have been no help, and there'd have been 2 chairs, but anyhow. So what happened for me is the guy that sobered me up, and that's going to be it. Somebody is probably going to be instrumental in your life. And the good news is there is. And the bad news is you don't know where the hell he is or where she is. And you're going to have to show up at these goddamn places until you find them. And you will. One day you'll look at somebody, and quite possibly you've looked at them for 6 weeks, and wish the hell they'd go to another meeting, and then all of a sudden, they talk to you and it clicks, and then they start guiding you down the road. But if you stay here long enough, like I say, you'll start working these steps, and that's what happened. I didn't go to jail for almost killing this gal in a car, and that caught my attention. And what I didn't do, that I was always accustomed to doing, is I stayed still. I didn't do anything. I didn't make any big decisions. I didn't go anywhere. I didn't move. Didn't put the wheel back on the wagon and try to get down the road or anything like that. I just stayed right where I was at. And that was Petaluma. And big shot like me from San Francisco falling into a little puddle called Petaluma. Boy, it was tough. But I stayed, and I listened to these people, and I got introduced to these steps, and I plugged in. Here's where we're kind of fortunate. I believe anybody on this planet that's not plugged into something is missing something. We're lucky because we get another straight shot of a power greater than ourselves, however you want to put it together, you know. And so anyhow, I stayed around long enough, and that started happening. I met a guy out at the coast, didn't like him, didn't want to be anything like him, dressed terrible, looked terrible, smelled terrible, everything was terrible, you know. A couple of months later, shit, I'm in his home all the time wanting what he has. He never knew how to dress, like I said. You know, he didn't know how to bathe too well, this and that. But the son of a bitch was alive inside. Man, something was cooking, and people loved him. And I've been looking for you bums all my life, you know what I'm saying? And I wanted some of that. I wanted to find out how that worked. And anyhow, started doing some steps. And I couldn't read. I don't know. I say it a lot, and I don't know if I said it too much, but I went through the public school system in San Francisco, and I couldn't read. I probably had about a 4th or 5th grade reading skills. And if there's any guys or any gals in this room, and I know there are, that can't read, you pick up that big book, and it's intimidating. You know, you can't read it. So there's tapes out there. That's what I did. I got a tapes of the big book. They're word for word. Some guy, God bless him, I'd like to meet him. I'd hug that bastard until he turned blue, you know. Tape the whole big book. Then if you can't read and you pick up that 12 by 12, you know, Jesus Christ, that's like reading a source or something. You ever see that book, The Source? Man, it's about that thick and heavy. Jesus Christ, that's a big ass thing. So anyhow, I mean, I don't know what to say. I've met some wonderful people. Another shortcut, what is so instrumental in this league? Naturally, it's hooking up with somebody and finding a home group and stuff like that. But you know what's valuable here that's priceless is people with blood running through your veins. We need one another. I don't want to scare you. You know, I'm sure some of you are thinking, boy, I don't need that asshole, you know, but we need one another. It's like tonight. What you need to do, if somebody gets up and looks like they need a handshake or a hug and you don't, that's shame on you. It really is. Because one day you're getting up wishing somebody would give you a hug, you know, and that's how that thing would feel. So what the bad news is too is what we have is one another. You know, sometimes that's scary. You know, I know Manny's over there. I remember seeing Manny, you know, Jesus. He didn't look like a rocket scientist to me, you know what I'm saying? And Sterling, old peg leg over there, you know, it's just, my goodness. But what happened is I didn't make any decisions, and I let people, I guess, make some decisions for me. One of the big things that I did is for probably after 2 years, from 2 years to probably 14, 15 years, I made coffee and cookies on a 6-month commitment every year. They always say get into service. And one of the best ways to do that is to help stack the chairs, make cookies, make the coffee, mop the floor. You don't have to be high profile. One day you're going to get all this, you know, and you'll do one of these things. Yeah, I love this scrap, you know what I'm saying? But if you want to hang out with some sweet people and maybe bump into God every once in a while, he'll be back there working. I believe that. I'd bet my life on that. And it's paid off for me. Because I can't tell you the things that have happened to me in my life. The good things. And if you're down, you know, and things aren't going well for you, you don't want to hear about the good things. You know what I'm saying? You say, shit, man, I want them myself. You know, I want to hear this asshole talk about how great it is for him. But I have worked my ass off. I have taken people to meetings, and people have taken me to meetings. I've had every job that you can imagine in AA. And I've wanted to jump the bones of I don't know how many thousands of women in AA. I was cursed with listening to them old bastards that said, nah, you can't do that. You know, you got to stay this way for a year. You know, you can't do any of that stuff, you know. And it was like, Jesus Christ. And now I can say, here's a shortcut. That's not all necessarily true. You know, you get laid once in a while. That's really nice, man. And you're not going to necessarily get drunk. You know what I'm saying? You might get confused a little bit, but you are not going to get drunk. I know there's this, and I can say her name. She's a school teacher, Sandy Lacey. Man, she screwed herself right into the second year, and it got her sober. It got her anchored. Because she was good looking, and them guys, just took advantage of her, and she loved it. There was only one guy. She fell hell over heels over this one guy, but got her. She found a chair in AA and never give it up. Because that's one thing, I don't care. There's some tough guys in this room, and there's some women I don't even think I'd want to challenge. But I would try to kill you if you try to take my chair away in AA. And I mean that. Baby, you're not going to do that. You're not going to do that. I might let you have it for a little bit of time, but you're not going to take this away from me. It's too valuable. It means too much for me. I have done some of the craziest goddamn things. I'm going skiing in the morning. I'm 58 years old. I started skiing 2 years ago because my nephew is living with us. Can you imagine that? I'm not supposed to do that shit. Really. And I'm not bragging to you because I don't care if you go skiing or you paint pictures or you're working, up at Lytton Springs or something like that tomorrow. That's all important too. It's what this thing, I guess what my first sponsor told me is, here's a big shortcut. Find out what it is you like to do and do a whole bunch of it. Find out what it is you don't like to do and quit it. Just stop it. Don't do it no more. And if you can't find out how to quit it, then look around the rooms, ask God, ask whoever to put somebody in your life to show you how to get the sunshine on the back of your neck, or how to quit this, or how to do that, And every time it would happen, again, these rooms would be empty. I love to laugh and I love to entertain myself. I'm sure you can see that, and I'm my best fan sometimes, which could be David. But God tonight could give all of us whatever the hell it is in abundance that we want. And think about that. Would that be a little scary? But he could. Anything you wanted, of any magnitude, I don't care what it is, you could have it tonight. But how in the hell is that going to be explained? All of a sudden the headlines, Friday night meeting, everybody is a millionaire. Everybody got a mansion, you know what I'm saying? Everybody hit the stock market. It can't work that way. But I know people like myself, I'm relatively successful. I'm a working guy. I've been a working guy all my life. I'm a union plumber and proud of it. One of them guys that gets up in the goddamn morning. And here's another shortcut. 2 things you don't like to do every morning, I'll help you with that. They say it's good for character. Builds your character. Get up and stay up. If you could do that, there's 2 things, that most of us don't like to do. But I really didn't want to be here tonight. I wanted to be, I was packing. My wife had me up. But, I'm into this. I was a drunk. I was a no-good, dirty son of a bitch. And now, for the last 15, 20 years, I've just wanting to kick ass and run the flag up the pole and have as much fun as I can do and shoot the big guns and stuff like that. And my family's a big deal, and I never thought I'd have one. So I love you bums, but I love my family too. You know what I'm saying? It's like I'm torn. It's like you're at war and you were born in this country and it's fighting, but you're living here. You're just torn with all this stuff. And so I didn't really want to be here tonight. And I go through that at times. And I know that what I got to do is generally call my buddy Lawrence up, who always agrees to go with me somewhere. And we get in the car, and as soon as I get here, shit, I love you bums. I love all this. But anyhow, I'm going skiing tomorrow, and I love it. But what I was going to say is my wife, who works out my schedule for me most of the time, she's one of those nuts that wants to get up at 4:30 this morning and get dressed and be at Krispy Kreme at 6 o'clock. I live in Sebastopol. And that altar there, hoping that red light's flashing. And have a cup of coffee and a sinker And then we're standing out in some goddamn store at 6 o'clock in the morning. And I've been going since 6 o'clock, since 4 o'clock, shopping, trying to keep up with 3 girls, and then it's my nephew and my son-in-law. And I love it. I love it. What you have to understand is I was a guy who crawled out of a trash can, who had a couple of flannel shirts, who had some underwear with skid marks in them, who had an old beat-up car. And you work, because here's another thing. Here's one of the big things too. In this program, if you put this much, sometimes you say, well, you really got to put a whole bunch into it. That's bullshit. Jesus Christ. Some days, today, I don't have this much. Some days I don't have this much to give anybody, let alone, myself. But I found out, if you put in what you can put in, and if you're short in that, then you're in trouble. But if you put in this and that's all you got, God will put in the rest. And if you need this much, it's in. You got it. Shit, you got it. But you can't hang around sitting in the asshole section, eating 9 cookies, not doing nothing, and expecting for the sunshine to hit you right in the middle of the head. It doesn't work that way, So if you want a shortcut, go to 5 meetings a week. Go to 2 you like, go to 2 you don't like, and leave 1 to float. The 2, if you knew that you don't like, you'll find in a hurry. They're easy to find. Go to a speaker meeting if you can. Don't let 2 days go by without going to a meeting. It's just too goddamn dangerous. Hook up with a sponsor. Sponsor's just somebody who's going to guide you. It's not going to be your dad or your mom, just going to kind of help you along. Get a home group. How do you stay sober? What do you have to do? I don't hear anybody say it. The 24-hour program's on page 86. I don't know about the new book, but it used to be on page 86. Upon awakening, upon retiring. You don't need anything else except that. So all of a sudden you start doing this, and you'll start cleaning up. Not drinking and smelling good. You'll start cleaning up inside. Things will start happening. And if you want a wife, you're going to get one. I've seen some people, marry the same woman 2 or 3 times, or marry the same guy 2 or 3 times, until they figure to quit asking God for that stuff, Because, so you got to be careful. You got to be careful with what you want, because the guy I talked to said, listen, figure out what the hell it is that you want. Talk to God about it, and then shut up. And just go around stacking the chairs and drinking the goddamn coffee and putting out the literatures and shut up. And that's what he used to say. And then in other words, he'd say, then let God figure out the rest for you. Don't worry about the rest, because it'll take care of yourself. Because look how many people are here. When it started out, there was only 100 people. There was only Bill and Bob. Shit, and there were a couple of nuts. You know what I'm saying? Then they got old Bill. And Bill was so whacked out, shit, he didn't know what the hell was going on. So he signed on, the boom, 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 bang. Next thing you know, shit, we're here. And one of the things that most people don't realize, that I didn't when I was sitting here, is that in the early days, is that I'm not going to have anything to give. What am I going to give? Right now, there's people turning the corner, getting ready to come through these goddamn doors. And some of us here tonight are supposed to be ready to help them. So you say, well, shit, I'm not going to have anything to give. The hell you're not. That's why it's important to figure out what the hell it is you're supposed to do and goddamn get with it. You know what I'm saying? Because I believe 26 years, and I know a couple of things. I believe I know a couple of things. That's okay. I don't think you're in a lot of danger if you think you know a couple of things. If you think you know more than a few things, you could be in trouble. What we're here for simply is to feel happily and usefully whole and plug into some of the good stuff and make a difference. Simply make a difference. This much or this much. God doesn't give a shit how much of a difference you make, but make a difference. And if you do that, because you don't get anything for nothing. That's why the Serenity Prayer. It's magical, the Serenity Prayer. God grant me. What does it mean, grant? It means under certain conditions you do things and you're going to get things. That's it. That's all it is. So you do things, you're going to get things. But if you help somebody over here wash their car, you help them down the road, you're going to be washing your own new car by doing stuff like this. That's how this thing works. I never had a new car in my life until I got sober. And I made a lot of money. Jeez, I think I did. I don't remember a lot of it, but I made a lot of money. So anyhow, I hope I've said something to you. But what we need to do here is to make a difference. If you're willing to make a difference, then you're going to have it all. One of the biggest goddamn weights that are attached to us is we come in here thinking, even the tough guys, even the tough girls, that think we really don't deserve it. We're not worth it. That's bullshit. Absolutely. Anybody tells you that or you feel like it, you're full of crap. It's not. If you want, maybe I'll say this and I'll hush up, because I want to get back home. I want to go to sleep. I'm like a little kid. I want to go home. I want to go to sleep and close my eyes, and then I want it to be in the morning so I can get the hell out of here. Alcoholics Anonymous has about maybe 5 million recovering alcoholics in it. That's a lot of people. AA works best for most. They don't go around writing banners and putting things in the sky that we do the most for the most alcoholics, but we do. We have the best numbers. There's a lot of good ways to get sober. There's a lot of ways out there to get sober. But what happens is there's people who try to take on 5 million to 1 odds. There's somebody in this room, I'm sure tonight, thinking, this AA is bullshit. Why don't that guy shut up and go skiing? I don't give a shit. Let him get the hell out of here. And if you do that, then what you're doing is you're taking on 5 million to 1 odds that this thing is bullshit. No, nobody in this room is that bright, including me. We're just not. And the only person I've seen in 26 years that would take on that kind of odds to say AA doesn't work is the alcoholic. Don't be that dummy to take off 5 million to 1 odds. Thank you. I love you.